in that, and then everybody can hear you. And then this, and everybody can hear you.
Ale, unta Aibe for the light? Okay. Nada, olvídalo. Hi everyone. we're gonna get started. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the People's School Board Candidate Forum. My name is Alondra,
My name is Alex Sosa, the youth lead organizer.
and I'm a youth organizer. We're so glad to have you here as we learn more about the individuals running for our local school board, a position that deeply impacts our students, educators, and families. Thank you all for showing up to be informed and engaged. This kind of civic participation is what strengthens our community. Now we'll get started with introducing each organization. Thank you to CCTV for being here, and the Spanish interpreters and ASL interpreters.
Hello all, my name is Nicole. I'm a youth leader at L.U.S, Latinos, Unidos, Siempre. It's a youth-led social justice organization that works to empower young people to take leadership roles in our community, to combat systems of oppression and build community power through grassroots organizing.
Now we'll have Willamette students come up.
Buenas tardes, muchas gracias por acompañarnos al foro de hoy. También gracias a los candidatos por tomar el tiempo fuera de su día para responder a las preguntas de la comunidad presente. Estamos aquí para representar no solamente la clase de la profesora Cumen de Sociología 399, nombrada Educación, Poder y Resistencia. Es un curso enfocado en el empoderamiento de estudiantes y la navegación de la educación a través de un aspecto fuera de lo tradicional, el cual consiste de la resistencia necesaria para poder crear espacios educativos excepcionales. Igualmente estamos aquí presentes como estudiantes del distrito de Salem-Keizer. Mi nombre es Brenda García Mejía y mis pronombres son ella. Este es mi tercer año y atendí la Early College. En específico queremos reconocer a WETS, nuestros administradores, seguridad del campus, Chris Olivia, Edgar Navarez, Ryan Bundy, Honey Wilson, Pam Smith y Sid Sani, y el personal de las instalaciones para eventos y de la limpieza, ya que ellos nos han ayudado a hacer este evento posible. Pero antes de todo, queremos agradecer a Luz por crear este espacio para tener esta conversación.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for today's forum, and thank you to the candidates for taking time out of your day to answer the community's questions. We're not only here to represent Professor Kuman's Sociology 399 class, Education, Power, and Resistance, which is a class that focuses on empowerment of students and viewing education through a non-traditional lens while pushing for resistance and creating a well-rounded and accepting educational space, but also as former students from the Salem-Keizer district. My name is Carly. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a second year, and I'm a former alum from South Salem High School.
Hi, I'm Jordan. I'm a sophomore at Willamette, and I'm an alum of North Salem High School. We would also like to thank and have a shout out to the people who made this happen: WITS, our administrative staff, campus safety, Chris Olivia, Edgar Navarez, Ryan Bundy, Honey Wilson, Pam Smith, Sid Sayani, and the events facilities and cleaning staff. But if anything, we would love to thank L.U.S for creating this space and having this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. CC Media, Capital Community Media is a multimedia center in the greater Salem area that provides local content, education, and a platform for people who want to hear and be heard by their community. Now we'll have NAACP come up and introduce themselves.
My name is RJ Hampton. I'm the president of the Salem-Keizer branch of the NAACP, and we're proudly able to co-host with L.U.S and the other organizations with this event. We thank you all for coming out, being able to take time to speak to the community, and that is us.
Thank you. Now we'll have someone from Salem-Keizer Coalition come up and introduce their organization.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Yadira Juarez, Executive Director from Salem-Keizer Coalition for Equality. Our mission is we partner and advocate with Latino, Latina, Latinx families, school, and communities to ensure equitable education outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Is anyone from MIC here? No? Okay. The mission of Micronesian Islander community is to organize social justice programs, preserve our cultures, and enhance leadership through unifying our diverse communities. Now I'll have someone from Scope come up and introduce themselves and their organization.
Hi, thanks again for inviting Scope. My name is Rebecca. My pronouns are she, her, aya. We are a women of color-led organization or group, and this is Tony Stark. We organize, educate, and empower families and students served in the Salem-Keizer public schools. Most of our activities and efforts so far have focused on helping and supporting parents navigate the complaint process when their students face issues of bias, harassment, or discrimination.
Thank you. And last organization is Mano a Mano. The mission of Mano a Mano Family Center is to strengthen community families by promoting hope and resiliency and reducing stress among the people.
Before we move forward on to the next part, I just want to share a quick reminder for those who are speaking that we do have ASL and Spanish interpretation, so if we can take it slow and make sure that we're talking clear into the mic, much appreciation. This forum is completely nonpartisan. All 8 candidates running for the position on the school board were invited to participate. Now we would like to take a moment to share a bit about the People's Candidate Forum and what it's all about. It's a student-led and student-organized with young people all across from Salem-Keizer coming together to create a space for our community. To learn, connect, and engage. Our goal is to highlight the importance of local elections and to give everyone an opportunity to hear directly from individuals who are trying to represent us. In the past year, Latinos Unidos Siempre has also hosted forums around school boards and state representatives. Before we begin, I would like to go over a few important community guidelines to make sure that this space remains respectful, safe, and focused. Only individuals that would approve press badges are permitted to record and to take photos of during today's event. For safety and privacy of our young people, no one is allowed to record or photograph youth in attendance and under any circumstances. We kindly ask you do not interrupt the candidates or speaker. We have limited time and want to ensure each candidate has a fair chance to share their vision. There will be a dedicated Q&A session towards the end of the event of our forum, so please hold your questions until then. This space will be grounded in respect and community care.
Like Alex mentioned, due to time being so limited, we won't be able to take a break, but always feel free to step out. There's restrooms out on the right and more restrooms downstairs. We also have snacks, so feel free to grab water, snacks, and yeah, thank you.
Now we'll be moving forward to talking about the raffle and public question portion. After candidates are done with the loose questions, the public will have an opportunity to ask their own questions. In the registration table, the public was able to enter their names for our question raffle. One of our youth will draw tickets from the raffle box and name the 4 people that will be called out. Please be prepared to ask your question during the second half portion of the forum. We will now select the 4 individuals at random using a raffle system. If your name is called, please come forward with your question ready when the Q&A portion starts. You may direct your question to one candidate or all. Just let us know before asking your question. Now Alondra will be picking the 4, so you all are prepared ahead of time, and you will know who will be asking the questions.
Maria, Hannah, and Jesse and Yadira will come up once
Yeah, so
the public
So now you all know who's the ones asking the question. So please be prepared with your question when we do the second portion of the forum. Now we're excited to begin the main portion of the event, hearing directly from the candidates. Once introductions are complete, we'll move forward onto the Q&A segment featuring questions created by the youth in the community. Now here how the process will work. We will begin with the candidate sitting closest to me, which is male, and we'll move forward in order to reach each candidate closest to Alondra. For the next question, we'll be starting with the person who went last in the previous round. We'll continue to alternate in the order of each question. Each candidate will have 2 to 3 minutes depending on each question.
Can you tell us about yourself? And what are you running for the Salem-Keizer School Board? And what are your priorities for your zone and for your whole district?
Lisa, your time starts now, and you have 1 minute.
If you want, you can take the mic off. It makes it easier.
Okay, well, we'll share a mic for now. How's that? All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you so much. It is an honor and a pleasure to be with you here today. My name is Lisa Harnish, and I am running for Zone 1 for the Salem-Keizer School Board. I believe wholeheartedly that our district, our students deserve a district that is grounded in academic excellence, and that all children, I mean all children, have a place to grow and to thrive. I'm here today really as a mom, first and foremost. I have lived in the community for over 30 years. I have 2 adult children, both of whom went through the Salem-Keizer schools from 1st grade through 12th grade. One is now a teacher, and the other is an artist and is also a cook here in town. Time is up already? Okay, all right. I have volunteered for the school district in many different capacities. I've been a part of the budget committee for a term and a half. I was appointed to the board last March, so I've actually been sitting on the board for the last year. Prior to that, I was co-chair for the facilities task force, taking a look at all of our buildings to look at what they needed to ensure that we've got safe buildings and ones that inspire academic excellence. I was also a part of the school bond committee and then the bond oversight committee. Being a part of that school bond was an absolute honor and pleasure, and I know many of you here in this room were really instrumental in helping us to pass that bond. I am focused on literacy, specifically around early literacy. I'm also the executive director for Marion and Polk Early Learning Hub, and I believe passionately in helping our children show up at the kindergarten doors ready to rock and roll. So that is one of my first and foremost priorities. Also, safe and welcoming schools, ensuring that we've got environments that meet the emotional safety as well as physical safety of our students, and that we can support academic excellence through science, technology, engineering, and math, continued work on our amazing arts programs and music programs, and also expanding our career technical education.
Angela?
Okay, can you hear me okay? Okay. All right. Yeah, hello, good evening, everybody. Buenas tardes a todos. My name is Angelo Arredondo Baca. I'm currently running for Zone 3. I like starting my story with my 2 parents. They both immigrated from Mexico to Salem, Oregon, so I was born and raised here. This race is personal for me because I attended all K-12 in the zone that I'm now trying to represent. I graduated from South Salem High School in 2020. I not only have the experience of being a former student in our district, I actually in 2019 had to take the responsibility of being one of the guardians for my sister, 2 of my sisters, one who is currently at Western Oregon University who graduated the district in 2022, and the other one who's currently a junior at South Salem High School. And so I've done everything from going to parent-teacher conferences, helping them with their homework, going to their IEP meeting. I'm actually going this week to talk about, that IEP with my sister's teachers. And so I have the experience of doing all of that. And, both the experiences have taught me that not only being a student is hard, but also being a parent is hard. And so that is why I'm running. I'm running so that all of our, students feel a sense of belonging in our schools. One thing that I like to talk about is that we want all of our students to be successful in academics. But we also need to make sure with that is that our students' basic needs are being met, that they have food, that they have adequate clothing, because how can we expect them to focus on academics if they're focusing on other things? I also want to focus on getting students ready for careers after high school, whether that be going to a four-year college, a trade school, or just working. I want them to get those skills. I'm going to be, in a month, be the first in my family to earn a college degree. And so I want all students to have that opportunity that I am currently having. That's what I'm running, and I hope to earn your support. So thank you.
All right. Thank you for the question. It's a joy to be here with you all. I'm Karina Guzmán Ortiz. My pronouns are she, her, ella. Es un gusto estar con ustedes este día. I am running for Zone 5, and I'm running for a second term on the school board. It was I had to take a lot of time and reflection to decide whether I was willing to run again, and I am excited to hopefully serve 4 more years. I'll be frank, campaigning is not my jam. But we are here because this part also matters. I have 2 kiddos in the district who are in 4th grade and a 10th grader, and I check in with them every day. We connect about schools, and I know that our schools are doing great things. I also know that our schools have areas of improvement. I graduated from our schools after attending kindergarten through 12th grade. I was a young mom myself. I had my daughter 2 days after I turned 16, and it was thanks to educators and instructional support staff that were there, the lunch ladies, right, who greeted us every morning, the bus drivers who picked my daughter and myself up every morning to take us to school. I know it is our educators and our staff who make our schools run and who encourage and support students to make it through high school and graduation. I look forward to working within our system again, within the district, to continue the good work that is happening, and to continue connecting and learning from community partners around where we can do better. And I think that is part of the progress, part of the work, is that things aren't always perfect, but that there's always room for improvement. And I was raised with a strong value of humility, and to me what that means is we aren't perfect, but we fall and we rise again and we do better. So with that, I pass it on. I think I still... Does her time carry over? I might need it. Hi, everybody. My name is Mel Fuller, and I'm running for Salem-Keizer School Board election on May 20th. I want to have a seat at the table while our community figures out how to handle the dismantling of the Department of Education and the challenges that our students and our schools are going to have to navigate with this. I've got 2 children in the district. I volunteer 3 days a week in my youngest 5th grade class with math instruction. On the other days, I'm helping as president of the parent club at Parish Middle School. My oldest is there. The parent club, we raise money through a concession stand. We give half of those profits to the team at the event that we're holding the stand at. The rest gets put in a pot that we disperse out to teachers for special projects, field trips, things like that. We also provide a group of hands-on volunteers to help them when they need it. I've lived in Salem close to 15 years now. I worked at Marion Polk Food Share for about half of that time as manager of the Meals on Wheels program. I spent this time immersed in community-based programs, helping real people and families connect with services through wildfires, water shortages, the pandemic, and just the everyday obstacles that life hits us in the face with as we're living it. I'm here because of L.U.S. I got involved following the school board 5 or 6 years ago. I saw L.U.S. standing up, demanding to be heard in school board meetings, and I saw every effort put forth to not have you be there. I stood outside the administration building with you. I wrote on it with chalk with you, and I'm here running for school board, not because, because of everything I just said, but also because students first, because we're students and you deserve to be heard, and I'm sorry that you weren't, but you will be.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll be moving on to the next one. Just a quick reminder for the MCs, we'll be letting you all know when your time will start. So for the next question, I will let you all know, like, Lisa, your time starts now, stuff like that, just to keep it ongoing and rolling. We'll be moving on to the next question. So here's some background. We know that the school board members have the power to approve superintendent budget proposals. In the past, these budget proposals have included allocating funding to increase systematic policing and surveillance. It also has included making difficult decisions like budget cuts and where to allocate those cuts.
When it comes to students, educators, and funding priorities, what values will guide your decision on approving school district budgets and proposals?
And Mel, your time starts now.
Thank you. Well, you ask what my values are. My values are authenticity, joy and humor, honesty, responsibility, and helping. I'd ask if the funding is responsible and is it helping the right people? Is it going to make a difference or have the impact that we want it to?
Thank you. Karina, your time starts now.
Thank you. For me, it's really important to keep students at the center always. It is our students. We have close to 38,000 students. So when we're looking at the budget and what it does, we speak about a budget being a value statement, and I think that is 100% true. I think about our schools also being centered on learning, that care and connection. We've talked a lot and we've heard a lot the word sense of belonging, and those still ring 100% true. And underneath that and with that includes care, right? Is that we're caring for one another and that we are connecting, that those relationships are not just, hey, you're here, check, but that we're really making the time and energy to connect with one another. For me, when I thinking about protecting our budget, it's expanding the work and the programs that we know are working. We've heard great feedback from our CTE programs, for example, expanding the breadth of these and the reach so that more students can participate in these programs. We know that students who participate in these programs graduate out like over 99% graduation rates, have 99% attendance rates. So we know that those things are working. We've heard great feedback from students and families about how much those matter. Hiring and retaining bilingual and bicultural educators is also something that is increasingly important. I wish I would have had educators who spoke my language, my home language. My kids have been blessed to have educators that can speak Spanish with them, and expanding that, right? We know that our educators, personnel staff does not reflect our student population, which is over 46% students of color. And protecting our extracurriculars, we know that for myself, I can speak, for myself, art and theater and music, it looked very different for me as a young parent, but those things are very important to keep students engaged, right? Whether it's community service and having opportunities to learn about other areas outside of that very physical and structured classroom are important. So I think about all of those things in terms of what do we protect, but at the end of it, I'll always come back to students at the center.
Thank you. Angelo, your time starts now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this question. As somebody who's not, an incumbent, not a school board member, I still have a lot of learning to do, for sure on that. But I think first is, acknowledging that a lot of our budget decisions come from the state. Like we have certain things that we have to, allocate money for. And so understanding that and working around or working with those parameters is, I think, important. But I also think that students and parents should be at the focus of when we make our budget, because obviously we are serving you guys. And so I think we should be holding more things like listening session. We should be holding more of those things because we really need to hear the public. I know at Oregon State University, I was part of their budget committee, and that was, my job. Listening to students, what things they care about, what things they don't care about, what do they think we should allocate, other fundings to. So I think we really should be, centering students and parents in these decisions. I also think that, making sure, for me at least, I would make it a priority not to, cut teachers, not to cut programs. The arts, things like choir and all of those things, those are usually the first things that people look at when they want to cut. And I'm not saying this district specifically, but in general. And those things, help students learn. Maybe some students are not good in the classroom, but they're really good at music, and that's how they thrive. I knew somebody who was in a music class, and now that's what they're majoring in college. So we should continue promoting all of these different aspects of learning, because it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Not everybody learns the same way, and so that's what I would prioritize on the budget.
Thank you. Lisa, your time starts now.
Yes, a fabulous question, and I think school budget, I totally agree with my colleague that a budget in and of itself is a statement of value. Hang on. Thank you. Is definitely a statement of value for the organization itself. I believe wholeheartedly that we have to look at the budget very objectively and keeping students and staff at the center focus of that budget. Making sure that we are leveraging absolutely every possible dollar, state, grant, federal. We have to leverage absolutely everything to ensure that we can accomplish what we want to accomplish. A third myopic that I will have as we're looking at the budget, which is timely because that begins here in just a couple of weeks, is really focusing in on the board priorities around 9th grade on track, high school graduation, literacy, a sense of belonging, and attendance. Keeping those 5 things at the core. How do we help to support students? How do we help to support staff, and making sure that we can push forward in that direction? Thank you.
Can you state your position on bringing back the physical presence of police, meaning school resource officers in Salem-Keizer School? Why is this your position?
Thank you. Lisa, we'll start off with you, and you have a minute to answer.
Perfect. Thank you for this question. I am not supportive of bringing school resource officers back into the building. I am a big fan of ensuring that we've got a variety and layers of safety for our staff and for our students. Being a part of the bond committee, this was something that we took and the facilities task force, we took very, very seriously, making sure that we were equipping every one of our buildings to be the safest that they could be. We did that through building the vestibules, making sure that we had the intercom systems, that we had the right types of windows, all the things that will really help make those buildings as secure as they absolutely can be. I'm also strident on making sure that we've got environments that really speak to and reach to the emotional safety and the social emotional safety of individuals that are within our buildings. Our students need to be seen, heard, and feel like they belong absolutely every day.
Thank you. Angelo, your time starts now.
Thank you. Yeah, just echoing what Lisa said. Yeah, I don't support bringing them back. I think we ask, as a school say, we got to trust the research, the science. The research doesn't, it doesn't say that school resource officers make our schools safe. And so if we're going to trust the science, the research on other things, we should also trust the science and research on this. Just echoing what, again, Lisa said, I think we should also, focus on bringing more mental health counselors in our schools to be, proactive, not reactive in how we handle, these types of situations. And so, yeah, that is my position, and I hope I'm clear on that.
Thank you. Karina, your time starts now.
I strongly oppose school resource officers. Hello. I just need to be really close. Okay. I strongly oppose bringing back school resource officers or having them in our buildings. When we think about student behavior, whether it's kindergarten, middle school, or high school, I strongly believe that that behavior is communication. And when students might be behaving or having issues in relationships with their peers, whatever it might be, that is behavior that we as a system, as educators, as adults, need to lean in and be curious about and support by holding on and holding strongly on our supports with social, emotional, and behavioral supports for our students. So I believe when we think about keeping schools safe, that to me, yes, it's physical safety, but it's also that social, emotional safety. And students, if they come in and they feel safe, they're going to want to continue having those strong relationships with their peers and their educators. So all that to say, absolutely not. Not under my watch, and it is something that I will strongly advocate for. I will also say right now we have a majority of a board that opposes school resource officers. It's really important that we get people to vote to keep this majority, those here, hopefully in opposition.
Thank you. Mel, your time starts now.
Thank you. I don't think police in schools creates a warm learning environment, and it's just not a good use of resources. I don't understand it, frankly. I don't believe they mentor kids, like our sheriff's department just came out and said they do. And I think when police officers were removed from our schools, everyone let out a big collective breath. If a budget came to me that increased policing, I would look into what programs are not being supported, where this money's coming from to go to the police, and I would vote to allocate it somewhere else. So I do not support SROs in our schools.
Thank you. We'll go on to the next question, and I'll read the statement. We know that federal government is targeting important education and supports that may impact immigrant, LGBTQIA+ students and students with disabilities in the Salem-Keizer School District.
In what ways will you as a school board director work to make decisions that address the systemic barriers faced by students impacted by the current federal policies and meaningfully engage with them and their families on decision making without using the method tokenization?
Before we start, I just want to clarify what tokenization means. And tokenization is a term used to describe how individual people from oppressed communities are used by people in positions of power to support a perspective without meaningfully engaging the individual or addressing the systemic issue that impacts the community overall.
Yes, and Mel, your time starts now. You'll have 2 minutes.
The majority of our school district are Latino students, and in one way or another, they're all going to be impacted by these policies, either themselves directly or their families. The previous board has affirmed their stance, or I shouldn't say previous, current board has affirmed their stance in protecting our students. And when I'm elected, I'll protect this work and continue it, knowing that I have the support of both our current superintendent and our governor.
Thank you. Karina, your time starts now.
Thank you. This administration, right, and it's their second pass, and I think some of us, although we are not surprised about where they stand, where this administration stands, have been a little taken aback at the speed and force at which they have come to attack our immigrant students, our LGBTQ students as well. And it is something that we have seen in the district. We've seen the impacts of this as we were recently looking at attendance data for our students. Our LGBTQ A+ students have seen a decline in attendance, whereas we've seen most other of our student demographics see an improvement in attendance. That is information for us to take really seriously. A few months ago, we were looking at, we look at sense of belonging. It's also our LGBTQA+ students that have the lowest sense of belonging in our district. And we continue to ask really hard, strong questions around what are we doing? And not only that, but then taking action on that. And I think that is important for us to name and center. We have strong support from the board currently, and our superintendent has also taken that messaging to our educators, because we also have educators who are LGBTQA+ who are also being impacted. And when we think, immigration, I know there's been, we have students who are afraid. We have families who are afraid about being targeted at home and in the buildings. And it is important that we listen collectively, that we listen to community. This idea of not one person's story everybody carries their own story, and that is very important, but we can't make generalizations based on individuals, right? And so to understand what is happening in our community, what does our community as a whole need, and that we do take unique and differentiated approaches based on those, because we are diverse, and that is beautiful. That also means that we have to take relationship-oriented decisions and make those partnerships to support our folks. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Sorry, we have to keep up on time. Angelo, your time starts now.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, first of all, I think I wanted to make it clear and where my stance is on this. Protecting immigrant LGBTQ, A+ students with disabilities is not and should not be a partisan issue. It is a human issue. I don't know why this has become such a divisive issue within party lines, partisanship, but I don't think protecting students is a political issue, and so I strive to do that. In terms of in what ways I will do that, as I mentioned before in one of the previous questions, is engaging families and students, but not only engaging families and students, saying how you're gonna use that engagement, how you're gonna use that knowledge on the board. It's one thing, listening to them, but it's another acting on those and saying like, hey, this is how we're gonna act on it. Hey, this is how I'm gonna use, your information, your story. So I think we need to be proactively listening. I think that is the word, proactively. And yeah, that's my answer on that one.
Thank you. Lisa, your time will start now.
Yes, I have to say I'm very proud of our school district and of our state for standing up to the last letter that districts were, or excuse me, not districts, but the states were asked to sign. I'm also incredibly proud of the policies that we as a board have been able to uphold in terms of protecting students who are in our schools, particularly those who are children of immigrants. I am also just as equally passionate as a mom and as an individual with family members who identify in the LGBTQ+. I'm even more fervent that we have to do absolutely everything in our power to ensure that our children and our staff feel seen, heard, and protected. As a board member, I will certainly be, along with colleagues, be asking for information and data and disaggregating that data so that we can really get down to what are the numbers telling us about why children aren't showing up, perhaps, or why they're not excelling in certain classes, or not engaging in a variety of different programs. That's important data that we as a board need to be paying attention to and working with the superintendent and the district to ensure that we do have programs and we've got adequate supports in our buildings at each and every level.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to the next question. So as of 2025, the Salem-Keizer School District has invested over $1.5 million in installing weapon detectors in all Salem-Keizer high schools. Even after experiencing an over $7 million budget cut since 2024. Most of these funds have came from a budget that has been addressing mental health and addiction that came from the 2024 legal settlement with e-cigarette manufacturer Juul Labs. The settlement has came in a result of a large number of minors being impacted by vaping addictions that has systematically targeted by Juul ads. The Salem-Keizer, the school district could have used this opportunity to fill in some of the gaps created by the $70 million budget cuts, which resulted in 425 job loss, including hundreds of educators. But instead, the district used this opportunity to add new forms of systematic policing. Every day, students must go through a weapon detector system that includes backpack and body scanners before entering their first class of the day. This means an average of 2,000 students from each high school must go through this process every single day. This requires the school district have staffing position dedicated to the work in the weapon detector line, put funding aside for repairs and new disciplinary policies that are violations through the weapon detectors. Based on decades of old data and research, we know that weapon detectors are a bigger part of a larger system that pushes youth and children out of the schools and into the juvenile justice system. Weapon detectors are tied to increasing anxiety and stress for students and increased disciplinary actions that disrupt their education. We call this system the school to prison and deportation pipeline. Since 2023, Evolve Technology has made over $1.2 billion in contracts with K-12 schools. In 2024, the Salem-Keizer School District committed to spending extra money on AI weapon detector technology to prioritize, in quotes, the student experience, suggesting that these new systems would be different from the past metal detectors that have created a prison-like environment and punishment in our schools.
If elected, how will you use your position as a school board member to evaluate and address the qualitative and quantitative negative impacts caused by these new weapon detectors in our schools?
Lisa, your time starts now, and you have 3 minutes for this question.
Great, thank you so much. As mentioned before, safety is one of the things that I am really running on. And that starts with social emotional safety in creating environments that are supportive of staff and students so they feel like they belong. Also, I referenced this earlier with the bond work, working to ensure that our buildings have the level of safety that they need, including windows, vestibules, all the technology to support that safety is incredibly important. The district is piloting and rolling out the weapon detectors. That is something as a board member I will continue to ask questions about their effectiveness, looking at data, meeting with schools and students and staff to see the impact of those detectors so that we can monitor that very closely. I do think that it is unfortunate that to go to a basketball game or to go into the Capitol or to pretty much go just about anywhere, we have those. They are somewhat of a moniker in terms of safety and something that we can't rely on. We really need to focus in on the aforementioned social emotional safety and supports, also helping to ensure that buildings are as safe as they can be. We're monitoring entrances and exits and not rely on those portions. So I am guarded, and we will continue as a board, should I be elected, to ask very thoughtful questions and making sure it's the right thing for our district.
Thank you. Angelo, your time starts now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for me, I think this is one of the subjects where, again, looking at the data, looking at the science, looking at all the research studies, a lot of them are inconclusive. But also, besides looking at those things, just hearing what students are saying. As I mentioned, my own sister goes to the district. She has her own feelings about them. But then I ask other, family members, some of their friends, and they have other thoughts on them. And so, really, I think I would, want to see more data on them. But aside from data, how do students and parents and educators feel about them? And specifically on our district, because a lot of our data that we have, it's from other districts, other demographics. But I want specifically to know how are they impacting here at home? Because I think depending on the data, I think we can have completely different results just because of our demographics and our students. And so, yeah, again, I would say I would still, when I'm on the board, I would ask those questions, really want to sit down with different groups of our members of our schools to do that. But yeah, I think that is something that I would just need to see more and be more informed on to have a solid answer. But I do think 100% that we need the data for our own school district and seeing how it's impacting us. So yeah.
Thank you. Karina, your time starts now.
Thank you. I'll be very frank, being on the board before the weapons detection systems were implemented, and through that pilot process, and now that they've reached every single high school, I tend to live in the gray, and this is one of those areas where I live in the gray, and I have a couple tensions. My first question when this surfaced as a conversation was related to the sense of belonging of our students. For me, it's really important that our students feel safe as they're walking into our buildings, and that they know that these are places for learning and connection. And I also understand why this surfaced as a conversation. We know that students, that young people in our community have an increasing access to weapons, and that those have made it into our buildings. And I am one that can hold multiple truths, right? So for me, it is really important that we don't profile students, right? That we aren't criminalizing students. And I understand that these weapon detection systems, kind of with that, AI technology, the systems themselves are objective. I also understand that there are humans who are working, who are operating these systems, right? And that there is room there for bias, and that there is room there for subjectivity. And so for me, it's really important to hear directly from students and parents, right? If their experiences with these systems is inadequate, and if it's impacting them, that is important qualitative information that I would welcome, and that I believe is important for our board to know. We do have, we haven't seen a decline in our attendance thus far in our high schools since these have been implemented, and we'll see next year our sense of belonging data based on the experiences from this year, right? So I think those are two areas where we do already track data, and that we can kind of make some connections and inferences about what is happening, but we have to continue asking more questions. And and I think the other piece is looking at individual schools and having those conversations with administrators and what they're experiencing. I'll end this, saying that I also believe that it's really important that we as a district continue our relationships with community partners so that we can actually get at the root cause of this, which is that increasing access from young people to weapons, and those important relationships that need to exist in our schools but also outside, so that our students and our youth have safe places and safe activities to engage in and connect with.
Thank you, Karina. Mel, your time starts now.
Thank you. I'm going to be frank, too. I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't like them at schools. I don't like them at the hospital. I don't like them in stores. I don't like having to walk halfway around campus past multiple open doors to find the one door that has the metal detector. Then they go off, and people are like, just go on through, right? Like, that happens at the store all the time. But I believe that weapon detectors contribute to feelings of over-policing and criminalization of students. And I want to make sure that student voices are heard about this issue as the district evaluates their effectiveness. It is a pilot project. They're trying it out. They're seeing. I will continue to uplift my concerns about them in meetings as the pilot project is evaluated if I'm elected. The fact is our school district is really advanced in security measures anyway. These are new. I want to look at, are they doing what we want them to do? How are they doing compared to the other measures that we have that aren't so intrusive and make kids feel like they're being policed or profiled? That's a huge negative point when evaluating something for me, is how it makes the kids feel. So I would be taking those concerns with me through these conversations.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. And this year, Salem-Keizer School District also began implementing foam pouches, which they are up in the screen. After contracting with Yonder Pouches Company, Yonder Pouches are cloth pouches that lock students' phones throughout the school day. The implementation of Yonder Pouches has cost the district $500,000 just to cover middle and high school student pouches once. This does not include the cost of replacement for broken, lost, or damaged pouches. Students who have already experienced the Yonder Pouches report that they are now being searched more than ever before. Based on the social determinants of health, Yonder Pouches are restricting students' mental, physical, and emotional safety. Students who are dealing with mental, emotional, and physical health, deportation of family members or loved ones, or simply need resources outside the school district have been systemically denied from communicating their needs or in times of emergency as a result of the Yonder Pouches. In short, this forces students to make time-sensitive decisions without their support system.
If elected, how will you use your position as a school board member to address the negative impacts caused by these Yonder Pouches? Some of you are parents of students in Salem-Keizer, so how will you expand your analysis, research, and outreach beyond your personal experiences as a parent to support other students impacted by Yonder Pouches?
You will also have 3 minutes to answer this question, and we'll start with Mel this time. Mel, your time starts now.
Thank you. I know that it's really hard to have something that is so important to you. I know what it's like to have something and then have it taken away. I know, it's going to sound lectury. I didn't have cell phones in school. I know that it's possible to grow socially and emotionally without them, but the phones are taking students' attentions away in classes from learning and interacting with their friends. And I see now that students interact with each other differently with their friends than I did when I'm in school. So students now may not be spending time together in person as much, spending time online while playing video games and other things. The same silly, fun, and goofy times that me and my friends had when we were in school in the parking lot at Dairy Queen now happen over Fortnite and Roblox. I recognize the difference. It's not better or worse. It's just different. I hear the concern about how you communicate with your family. I really do. My kids go through that as well. And I would hope that we can work with families and students and concerns about how to communicate with their family in an emergency. With concerns about immigration and ICE and deportations, if that moment comes with your family, there's not going to be a phone call made. What's going to happen is your network, your family, your friends are going to be rallying around trying to figure out what to do. So I would focus on the safety plan and the communication that families have. I would encourage our teachers and staff, if I was on the board making this decision, I would encourage plans to be made, communication to be facilitated, and work to be done beforehand so when that moment comes, if it comes, that communication and a plan is made.
Thank you. Karina, your time will start now.
Thank you. I have heard from some students who are at schools where Yonder Pouches have been implemented. I understand that these are at some middle schools and some high schools, and that decision has been made by individual building administrators, so school principals and vice principals in that relationship. And so it's not a decision we have made as an entire district or one that the board has necessarily been involved in. We have heard feedback. I know folks in this room have come into to give public comment and share those experiences and the fears, right? The fears that we, kind of circling back to the current administration and how there is a lot of fear and anxiety in young people and families, and that need to connect and that need to make a phone call it is and feels very important and necessary. I also want to note that research tells us how phones do make young people and adults anxious. You know, that need to continue to check updates and check notifications. It's real. And again, multiple things that can be true at once. And I have a high schooler, I have a 10th grader who is at a school that has not implemented yonder pouches, and I get memes and Instagram reels, during the school day, and I'm like, hey, you should be paying attention. It's like, oh, I'm at lunch. But I have no guarantee, and I can text her, hey, I'm going to pick you up. So I say that as a mom who has a kid in high school who can be very distracted by phones. I still have that line of connection, so I haven't felt that in my home and my family. But to the question right around expanding it beyond my own experience with my kid is continuing to hear and gather that feedback from students and from families, and we have having conversations about how schools can do that also, and how we can get our eyes on it so that we can learn about what the process has been as these have been implemented. And I think circling back to our data, attendance, sense of belonging is going to be really important as well, so that we can make those connections. And so for us, it's something that we're continuing to learn about, right? Something that we're continuing to see and balance this need for communication with caring and safe adults outside of school when things are emergencies rise up, and helping educators and students stay focused and build those relationships in the classrooms that we know are really important as well. So I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation and learning about the process, and learning how, I will say, just to wrap up, we have also heard in this process how some of our communication systems within our schools are not perfect, and it's giving us an opportunity to improve those communication systems, right? Similar to what Mel was saying around how do we make phone calls and making sure that when parents are calling that they are getting a response in the building. So those are things that we have become aware about and are continuing to work on and improve through this process.
Thank you. Angela, your time will start now.
Yeah, I think I share a little bit of a different perspective from my colleagues up here, because I did go to school with a cell phone. I grew up in the internet age, smartphone age, but I also have the perspective of needing to use my phone for family personal purposes. I mean, and this is personal to me. As I mentioned, when my dad passed away, before then he was sick. For a few months before he passed away, and every day when I was in school, like I was fearing of that text, but sometimes like, hey, you need to go pick up your sisters. You need to come to the hospital. You need to do that. And yes, it was nerve-wracking, but it would have been way more nerve-wracking and distracting to me if I didn't have those notifications. I would have thought about the worst that was happening to him. Same with, as I mentioned, my sister currently in school. That is how I know she's okay. And when she's not okay, like, hey, I have a nosebleed. I can't, get to the office. Can you come, can you tell them to come help me? Can you come pick me up, do all that? And so I understand that, phones have an impact on our education, but I really don't know or think that, these pouches are the answer to that. I think we should have more conversations. I know in the state house recently a bill was passed that in the house that is a turn off and put away, no pouches, turn off and put away, that kind of implementation. I know it's probably going to pass the Senate, so we're going to have to look at that law and see how we have to implement it as a district. But again, it doesn't say pouches, and so I would have those questions. And see, because as I mentioned, this might be just my personal experience growing up and having those responsibilities, and I know a lot of our students have those responsibilities. But for me personally, it'd be more nerve-wracking if I didn't have clear answers, if I didn't have those clear communications, and that would distract me more than actually checking, to see the realities of these text messages, and so. I think we need to have those, more of those conversations. But that's just my perspective as a student, somebody who did use their phone for those reasons, as I know many students do as well.
Thank you. Lisa, your time will start now.
I think we can maybe all agree that phones serve as a bit of a distraction for us, and we all might be somewhat addicted to our cell phones. I'm one that will turn the car around and go back home to pick up my cell phone when I realized I have forgotten it. Cell phones are certainly something that we all need. They are a key essential part of everyday life, whether it's messages, a calculator, looking things up, whatever. It's a form of communication that we have that we all need. And I think we also know, data shows that the use of cell phones does have an impact on our learning, and particularly in the school age. And that is a job of the school, is to help provide the environment that is focusing in on learning. Yonder pouches are, I think, a challenge, and I think it's one that we haven't figured out. How do we implement an environment that is free of those types of distractions? I think we will continue to learn about the impact over the next bit as we assess that. Angelo mentioned House Bill 2251, where the state legislature took a pretty, at least the House side so far, it's got to go over to the Senate and then be voted on full. But recognizing that this is something that we as a society have to deal with. How do we manage some of those distractions? So I think we've got a lot to learn. We need to continue to listen and to continue to look at how do we provide some flexibility in our policies so that we can afford opportunities, particularly for children and students and their families, where there might be some things that we just really need to make sure that we've got that level of communication. And that's not one that we can take really lightly. So I am really, as a board member, I will continue to ask those questions, getting feedback, looking at the data to see what is the right policy measure that we need to take.
Thank you.
Thank you. This will end the portion of the questions coming from the community or the youth who attend the Salem-Keizer school districts. We'll be moving on to the raffle and public comment portion. We will begin with the portion of the event where members of the community have an opportunity to ask a question. We invite the 4 individuals that were selected to come forward and ask their questions in the order they were called. Each question may be directed to a specific candidate or all candidates. Please sure to state that before asking your question. As a reminder, the same rules apply as earlier. Please do not interrupt the speakers or candidates and remain respectful. So, Alondra, if you want to share the names of those who will come forward, and we'll do one at a time so there isn't anybody blocking the camera or anything. And thank you.
Yadira, can you please come down and ask the question?
Buenas tardes. Yo quisiera hacerles la pregunta, si eres elegido o elegida, y la pregunta es para los 4. Si eres elegido o elegida para la junta directiva, ¿cómo se compromete a garantizar que las voces, necesidades y prioridades de las familias latinas y otras comunidades históricamente marginadas sean parte activa y respetada en las decisiones del distrito, especialmente en lo que respecta a la equidad educativa, el acceso lingüístico y a la participación familiar? If elected to the school board, how do you commit to ensuring that the voices, needs, and priorities of Latino families and other historical marginalized communities are actively included and respected in the district decisions, particularly in areas of educational equity, language access, and family engagement? And that question is for the 4 of you.
And we'll start with Mel this time. We'll do 1 minute each, or do you think we have 2 minutes or 1 minute?
Are they?
Are we doing on time? Okay. Okay, perfect. 1 minute, and then we'll move forward to the next person. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you. The question was difficult for me to hear. It's very quiet, so I'm going to, I believe, okay. I've committed to, the zone that I'm running for is largely Latino, Northeast Salem, that area. And I think that if I'm going to truly represent not only my zone, but the students as well, then I need to come and meet where you're at and speak to you and gain your trust and participate alongside you. I'm endorsed by the L.U.S project with Amador, as well as Picun. I know how to listen. I know how to take the concerns with me to the board, and I hope that I will be accepted as an ally in this work.
Will you all need me to repeat the question just to make it easier, or are you all good? You got it? Okay. Karina, your time will start now.
Thank you. Well, we'll see if I got the question here. Thank you for the question, Yadira. You know, this component of making sure that Latinx and our marginalized communities' voices are heard and centered and integrated, I think is the important part in your question, right? Is that they're integrated into how we function is really important. There's layers, right? For me, it's always really helpful, and I always welcome that one-on-one conversation or a table conversation around any specific issue. And I like to be on the listening end, right? I think there is more for me to learn than there is for me to share, and that is my role on the school board and what it's been and what I hope it continues to be for another 4-year term. We have the student investment account, for example, which it tells us you have to engage community, and we've engaged community as part of that work and that effort. You know, it's kind of evolved in its way, but I think the question of it's important to always ask ourselves, are we doing enough, and who are we missing, who is at the table, who hasn't shown up, and then taking opportunities there to reach out in creative ways and leveraging relationships and partnerships and community. We have incredible community-based organizations and projects that are working with some of our most marginalized communities, and we need to make that outreach, right? We need to extend our hand and say, hey, we want to hear from you, and that is something that I'm committed to doing in moving forward as well, and that I hope that our district continues to do. But again, we can always do better. We can always do better in this work.
Thank you, Karina. Angelo, your time will start now.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that starts with showing up. There's 8 people running for the school board elections, and there's 4 of us here. So it's, showing up should and is always the first step. I think also is a lot of, parents, a lot of students are afraid right now of going into, government buildings, and a lot of them see the school board meetings as a government. And so meeting, students and parents where they're at, whether that is, at a parent meeting, at a cultural event, even if a parent feels most comfortable us going to their homes, if that's where they feel most comfortable, we should be doing that. We should be meeting, them where they're at. And so, yeah, I think just being accessible in how, we listen to our parents and students. So, yeah.
As a district, we really cannot afford to lighten up or lessen any of our efforts now. We need to continue to focus in on the language opportunities that we have, particularly for our Spanish-speaking students, but we have another 80+ languages that are represented. As a district, we need to constantly be focusing on how do we meet the different language needs that we have. I would also say the cultural pieces of the cultural aspects of our schools need to really be highlighted and celebrated. I have participated in a few events, and I've been very familiar with some of the work that they've been doing with the Micronesian island community in terms of really through looking at data to really say like who isn't showing up for certain activities or not attending school, like what can we do to make students feel and their families feel more welcome. And that really starts with learning about the who, but really understanding the why, and also looking into the cultural aspects and how do we connect with families in a very real way. I think our staffing has to reflect our community as a whole. We've got some work to do there as a district. And so as a board member, I certainly look forward to being able to have those conversations. Is our staff, are we reflecting our community? As we also look at some of the data and what is happening in our schools and using that data to inform our policies and our practices.
I'll also, just to make it fair, since the question was hard to hear, I'll be also granting 30 seconds to Mel to answer the question again.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One thing that I wanted to say is that the way that I will do this, I want to do it in a real way. I think it's really important to meet with all of the groups that I will be representing as a school board member outside of the school board chamber area. I want to meet them in their own place. I want to celebrate, participate, learn, and spend my time that I have on the board together with those groups, and then bring it to the board.
Thank you. We'll have Hannah come up next.
And I think just to make it hear better, you're able to take off the mic and then you can pass it off to Aleida. Can you hold the mic until Roberto gets back? Yeah, just to make it better for everybody to be able to hear. Thank you. Yeah, you can take it off. Thank you.
This is to all candidates. Do you have a plan to advocate for teachers, IAs, and all staff to receive better livable wages? Because we know this is imperative for staff to feel secure and to be able to better serve all students. I know especially instructional assistants receive very low pay, but are the most important resources for our students. Thank you.
We'll have 1 minute for this question, but we can start off with you, Lisa. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Our staff, teachers, and classified staff are the heartbeat of our schools, and we owe it to our teachers to pay them a living wage. Certainly, they deserve way more than that. We are in the process or in the beginning stages of bargaining right now and looking at what is it that we can do to help increase the wages and the quality of life for our staff. And also, we've got to balance that with the resources that we have available. And we also know that we have got to do more for our staff. So certainly we'll be taking, as the process continues, asking those questions. We meet on a regular basis in executive session to look at how things are going with bargaining. So yes, I will definitely be focusing in on wages.
Thank you. Angelo, your time starts now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I am proud to say that the Salem-Keizer Education Association, which is the teachers union, has endorsed me and has endorsed all four of us. And so, you know, working with them, you know, listening to them, I think is important. I'm not an expert, I'm not an educator. And so just asking them, hey, you know, what do you need? I know a lot of students and educators have told me from the short time that I've talked to them that safety is a really big issue for them. And I believe they'll, you know, deserve to feel safe at work, like we all do. And so, yeah, I would, you know, I'm on the board, but I would, you know, ask those questions. And when we're in executive session, when we're all doing the bargaining portion. But yeah, I think talking to educators, because I'm not the expert on those. They're the ones in the buildings 5 days a week. So
Thank you. Karina, your time starts now.
Thank you. It's such an important question, and I am all for supporting and echo just our teachers are the backbone of our school system. There is no school, there is no district without teachers and instructional support staff and paraprofessionals, everyone who shows up to our schools to support. And so for me, making sure that our staff are well compensated and that they have competitive salaries is 100% important. I also know, I was chair in 2023, 2024 when we were facing significant budget cuts and bargaining a really difficult contract, how difficult it is to be on this side and say, I want to compensate to the maximum degree possible, and we have a limited budget. And so that also helped us understand better, right, what our limitations are. But also, I want to say that it is also important for our state to step up and make sure that our state legislators and governor are funding public schools. So all for, you want to be frank, it's really, we're responsible of a balanced budget and we have limitations on how much we can pay. However, it is always important for me that we do as much as we can with the resources that we have, because we want to retain teachers, we want to retain staff in our schools so that they can continue building those relationships and connections with their students.
Thank you. Mel, your time starts now.
Thank you. I plan to advocate for teachers, IAs. I plan to advocate for their wages. And the way I want to do that is I want to look at, when we have our budget come out, look at where the money's going. So paying teachers and instructional assistants and janitors living wages, what will retaining them and keeping them, what will that do? Will that help in other ways? Balance that out between what we would be taking it from. I know it's kind of confusing how I said it, but hopefully I can clear it up. My two boys, their best relationships in their school is with an instructional assistant and a security guard. Those are their trusted adults. I asked them the other day, I said, who can you go to if you have a problem? Do you have anybody at school that you can talk to if I'm not there or dad's not there? And that's who they said. So those positions are so important, and they do so much more than just what they do. It helps our kids more than ever to have those relationships. It helps budgets when we don't have high turnover. We don't have to keep retraining new people to bring them in. Oh, shoot, my time's up.
Okay, thank you. We'll have Maria come up and ask a question.
Yeah, sorry about the cut short time, but we're running pretty short.
All right, this is for all of you, and I think that you're all on a pretty united front with how I align. I'm a community member and a mother, and I'm on my PTC at the elementary school, and I hold a lot of privilege. And I'm wondering how you would suggest that parents and community members can help advocate alongside a lot of these organizations and you to better support you and the community to follow through with a lot of these conversations that we had today. What's the best way that we can help be accomplices and advocates in those ways?
Yeah, because I was going to say we're going to do we'll do it this way just to make it fair. So we'll do that. You'll start this one. So Karina, you can start now.
Thank you. I just kind of cooked thoughts. And I love the question. I think it's really important. It's actually, even as a school board member and as we're getting presentations, I often ask, what can we do? What can our community do? Because I think that is always how we, just being of help and support. And there are many folks who are engaging in conversations with us as individual board members or coming in to give public comment. I also understand that there are many folks who don't understand this, hierarchy of decision making and policy making. And so connecting and guiding folks on what that process looks like to bring your voice in at the school board level. But I'd also say at the school level, that is also really, really important. Communicating with your educators around what isn't working for your children is important. Connecting with principals is important. And so I like the idea of no wrong door, right? And if something isn't working or if there's no response, all right, let's go to another, let's try somewhere else. But I love the work that has been happening, and I do think that guiding and others around how to bring your voice forward is really important. And I always say, I have a phone number, and I'm a phone call away, I'm a text message away. That is my philosophy, and I sometimes wish more people would take me up on it. So.
Thank you. We'll be moving to Angelo. And your time will start now.
All right, thank you. Yeah. As I mentioned, I'm a political science major, and one of the things I decided to focus on early on was between state, local, and DC politics, federal politics. What I'm really passionate about is local, state politics, because of the fact that anybody, but especially I've done it before, can go to your state house. That is your capital. You can set up a meeting whenever. You can go to the staff and say like, hey, I want to meet with the representative to talk about this. You can do that easily. It's a little harder on the federal level. That's why I like the local and state level. And I want to open the opportunity when I'm a school board member. As Karina mentioned, I want to be a text, a phone call, an email away, and say, yeah, hey, I want to meet. Yeah, let's meet. If I have the capacity, let's meet. But also, I think second thing is, if you're open to having a conversation with us, with me at least, let me know, because sometimes there's people in spaces that say like, hey, we're not ready yet, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine, but please let me know, when you can, so I don't ignore you. So yeah, I think that's how you can help us out, and how I can be as accessible and open as a school board member.
Well, not to sound repetitive at all, but it really is about showing up. I would also encourage anybody and everybody to come to school board meetings. There is a public testimony time. It is a bit of a process. What I don't like about public testimony pieces is that there's no engagement. So I think that is an unfortunate part of that process overall. But I can tell you what, as a board member, it makes a big difference. I love it, and I have learned so much. And it's shifted my thinking as well. Listening to families, teachers, students coming in and telling their perspective. It does make a big difference. I would also just put another plug in for getting involved in your child's school. That I think is incredibly important, and seeking out different voices other than your own. That's where I think we learn the most, is when we are really reaching out and across different lines. So I think that's super important. And I too, feel free to email me, text me, call me. That is a part that I know I look forward to doing more of as a continuing board member. Thank you.
Thank you, and then I'll pass it to Mel. Sorry, your time starts now.
Rules were meant to be broken. No, the campaigning is hard, but really my favorite part of it has been getting to meet people and talk to them all the time. If you follow me on social media, my campaign, you'll see I do the selfie circuit. I'm constantly talking about who I'm talking to and what we are talking about. It's one of my favorite things. I have public office hours during my campaign. I'm at certain places at certain times. I have an evening after work at Ikebox on Mondays, and then in the afternoon during the day on Fridays at GovCup. I also really like coffee. But that's aside from having those public times that are open for people to come and visit me and just ask me a question if they want to, say hi, I'm here, I'm there, I'm showing up, I'm out in the public. I run a robust social media campaign. I'm always connecting with people. And one of the things I've done as president of our parent club is really tried to set up a way for parents to get involved in helping with their children's schools outside of school hours. If you're working, you can't come and chaperone a field trip. If you're working night shift, it's going to be hard to come in during the day because you're going to be sleeping. So how can we try to provide opportunities for things for people to do on their own at home, to help out and just trying to think outside the box and how to provide opportunities for parents to come in and talk to teachers.
Thank you. Jesse, if you want to come up and ask your question, please.
Also, then following this, we'll do Angelo will start first, and then we'll move forward that way, just to make it fair for everyone.
Hello, I'm Jesse. I have two nieces that are in the Salem-Keizer School District, and I wanted to touch today on the AI phenomenon and how it's been evolving exponentially. And the surrounding cities already have a plan laid out for training teachers on the uses of AI, policy for to safeguard students with the uses of AI. Tiger, Tualatin School District, they got what they're calling the AI use decision-making tree, and they got the AI use stoplight. Red is for no, where AI is not permitted to be used. Yellow is where you need a citation to use AI, and green is, applications where AI is allowed to be used. And historically, technology has been used by this country in particular for, war applications, that require violence. ICE is using AI to intercept immigrants. And, good uses of AI, like in other uses for technology, like there's more broader uses for good uses of technology than negative ones. Good uses of AI, and could be for education, medical, or fighting hunger. So right now, Texas, I believe, has one of the first fully AI-powered schools, Alpha School. There's no teachers there. So I don't believe that that's a direction that we should be going. We need to have, a human interaction with the instructors. The instructors should be using AI as a tool. The AI shouldn't be doing away with the instructors altogether. So if you look up what our policy here in Salem-Keizer is, it's only a one-page policy. It's not much, really. Like, it's just like we need a broader plan for how we're gonna, because you're not gonna stop AI from like being in all the aspects of our lives. Like, we need to have a plan laid out and how it could be used and how, other good uses, as a teacher's aid, streamlined administrative tasks like grading and stuff like that. Those are positive uses. Personalized training for students with disabilities and things of that nature. Those are things that AI should be getting used for, not for surveillance or maybe surveillance. I don't know. Like, it's a newer technology, but as opposed to having a person, an armed person on the campus. And or policing, like, just I'd rather see it used for positive things. So my question is, because this is a very broad subject, so I want to narrow down the question to and the question is for everybody, what is your perspective on AI in the education sector? And what will you do to implement a broader AI policy in the Salem-Keizer School District?
Okay. Your time starts now, Angelo.
Yeah. As the only current student here, from four of us, I've been, taught in AI, and a lot of professors have different views and all that. But I like what you said on AI should be used as a tool. It shouldn't replace, teachers and all that, but it should be used as a tool. We've had AI forever. Our spell check in our phone when we're sending a text message, that's AI. It's helping us be better, and we can use it in forms as tools to streamline different things. But it shouldn't replace. You shouldn't cheat using AI. You shouldn't write an essay using AI. But again, you should for spell check and all these other things, use it as a tool. In terms of, because I'm running out of time, in terms of how to implement policy in our school district, yeah, talking to the experts, talking to educators, but I don't think we should, in itself, ban the whole use of AI, because AI is here to stay, and I think we should understand that. But we should use it to our advantage, because it could be a tool for good.
Thank you. Lisa, your time starts now.
Excellent, thank you, and great question. I will admit, I am just getting into that whole AI scene, aside from the spell check. I've found it to be a very helpful tool when I'm writing emails. I can plug in what I want to say, and then it'll refine it, and it becomes a tool. And I agree. I think there are lots of applications that we need to be continuing to and really figure out how do we make it a tool for good. And then also training our students on, how can it be used, when should it be used, when should it not be used. I am going to go back and I'm going to look up what our current policy is, because I will admit I don't know exactly what it is. So I'm going to go find that one-page policy, and I'm going to start asking some questions, because I think you're absolutely right. We need to be thoughtful about it, guarded about it, and again, making sure that we know where we want to go with the use of AI, and how do we continue to ensure that it is a tool for good.
Thank you. Karina? Yeah. Oh, Mel? Okay. Mel, your time starts now.
Thank you. I really don't know that much about AI. I understand that it's around me all the time in more ways than I know, or that I probably want it to be, but I have a lot to learn about AI. My limitations are asking ChatGPT for a recipe. I know that sounds awful, but I want to learn more about it and how it can be used, how it is being used in the schools, what can happen, what do we want to happen versus what could happen with it. There's just so much to learn about it still, and it changes every day, right? AI changes, it's everywhere. So it's a learning curve for me with AI.
Well, first, I love the shirt. Second, AI, I love this concept of it being a tool. I was not aware that AI was replacing real-life teachers in schools, and I think you heard me say many times today how important care and connection are, and you don't get care and connection from AI. So I would definitely be protecting real-life instructors, even in our online school, right? Because that still matters. And we also need to learn more, and I know that this is part of the work that our administrators and teachers are doing around how to use AI in the best and most functional and proper way. And I'd say next to that, following that is guiding students to use this tool wisely, while encouraging and protecting their creativity. I think that's something that's also really important for us to protect.
Thank you. It looks like we still have a little bit more of time, so I'll be drawing another name, and then if I call you, just feel free to come down and ask the question. I got Arlo Potter.
Hi, I'm Arlo, they, them. I am been living here in Salem for about 5 years. I don't have any children, but I was super impressed by the people who put this together today. And I want to know how, as somebody who's doesn't have a direct connection to the school district, I can be best supportive.
And we can move this more into a system of whoever wants to answer. Let's just keep it less than a minute. So feel free, whoever feels more called to jump into it, and those who don't want to answer those questions, just so we can move more questions into it.
Yeah? Okay.
Well, first of all, Arlo, thank you for showing up today. I think you right now are personifying what we all need to do, which is showing up. And so I appreciate that. I think voting right now for school board is a huge thing, and also making sure that people really know and understand really what's at stake here with this election, and where you stand on that will also go miles. I also getting to know your neighborhood school, I think, would be another suggestion that I would have, so that you kind of see and understand the community and the culture of the neighborhood, wherever that may be. And I'm pretty sure that there'll be ways for you to get involved in doing that. Because I tell you what, it's really about the community here, and that's one of the reasons I absolutely love Salem-Keizer, is that our community really does show up, and particularly when it really matters. And our schools are really a beacon for that community connection. So get in touch with your local school as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Whoever wants to answer the question, feel free to grab the mic.
Okay, Arlo, you can vote. It's one way, right? But you can have connections with the school without having students in it. You can, as a president of a parent club, I would love to see you come and volunteer. You don't have to be, you don't have to have a student in school to volunteer in schools. You can also take advantage of entertainment that the schools provide. They go see a play, go to a sporting event. There's lots that you can do, and you can do those things on a budget. Those tickets are not that spendy. And pack the seats. The kids would love that. You know, I volunteer in the schools. My kids are there, that's true, but I hardly see them when I'm there. There's so many other kids. I would not go 3 days a week to my kids' classroom or pop popcorn at Parish or do all these things if I didn't enjoy being there. It is a really fun place to be. So that would be my suggestion. There's lots to do.
Yeah, this is going to be me probably repeating what they said, but I want to make it clear that I do want to answer the question. But yeah, no, getting involved, I think, as we've all mentioned, showing up is always the first step. Voting in your elections, making sure that people who share your values are on the school board. So yeah, voting is super important as well. Somebody once told me that there's two things, as I mentioned: showing up, volunteering, either volunteering your time or volunteering your money, giving your money away. Supporting with your pocketbook is also important. A lot of parent-teacher clubs, a lot of these individual music clubs always have fundraisers, always have things like that. They need that enrich our students. They help our students go to conferences, go to concerts, do all these things that enrich their learning. So either volunteer your time with them, or if you can spare a couple of dollars, it'd really be helpful for them. But I think that's how you can get involved.
Just a quick, I think from the other end, right, where our schools sometimes are a little thin to initiate those relationships with community partners and other people outside. So whenever there's an opportunity out there that say, hey, here's a project, or here's something that we're working on, let's connect with our local high school and see maybe there are some high school students who would be interested in this. So I think always just extending an invitation for those relationships is super helpful and welcome.
Arlo, everybody else, there's a program called SMART. You can be a smart reader with a kid. So you sign up and you get assigned a child, and you read with that child, the same child, every time you go to school to work. And my kids love their smart reader. They talk about them. They are just part of their world. So that's a really good opportunity. And reading practice one-on-one is so valuable to kids who are struggling.
Perfect. Thank you. We still have a little bit of time left, my bad. But I'll draw the last person, and it's Robert V.
All right, first off, I'd like to thank everybody for being here who organized this. This is great. I mean, I didn't know about this if it wasn't for somebody randomly calling my house. And I've got to admit, this is a little disappointing on who turned out here. We've got something like 40,000 students in our district, and there's maybe people who aren't part of an organization, maybe like 10, 15 people here that I can see. My question to you guys is, what can you guys do if you get elected to the board to help spread the word about meetings like this to everybody? We get text messages on when our kids have a fire drill, when they're tardy. I have not received a text about any of this once. I think that'd be a great resource. If you guys want to do that, parents can block your number if they don't want to get them, but at least we can initiate that. I mean, do you guys have any other plans that you could possibly do to help kind of spread the word on things like this? Because what parents have to say is important, and what you guys do is important. None of that stuff's going to get relayed if we don't know about, conversations like this and meetings like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Like we said before, we can just do popcorn style. Whoever wants to answer first, and keep it like between a minute or two.
Hello. Well, thank you for the question, and thanks for being here. Like you said, it matters. It's a beautiful sunny day out there, and there's a lot of activities happening. It's a holiday weekend, so I know it's sometimes really hard for folks to show up. And then there's the part that sometimes people don't know. When it comes to our school board meetings, we're now communicating those out in kind of like a monthly newsletter, and then schools are also including it in their school newsletters. I think there's kind of one thing is to share, and then it's another to understand what is this, right? And what's my role in there, and what's going to happen if I show up, and what am I going to learn, and is what I say going to be heard and integrated into policies and programs. And so I think that is where we still have work to do to bridge that gap between people showing up and then making sure that they feel listened to and that they feel heard, respected, and then that feedback makes it into the work, and that's the ongoing conversation, right? So I also think that the relationships, the personal relationships, and it's why I say, I'm open and always welcome to join conversations and listen. And I know there's folks here who I've been able to do that in different groups, but making sure that we are building those relationships as individual board members, and then as a board, as a whole board is important, because people are going to show up when they know somebody, right? Relationships are so core to how we function as humans. But I do think, when it comes to our school board, many folks don't understand what the role is and what the work is, and I think that is part of our responsibility to make sure that we are bringing people along, and that is how we will empower folks to do it.
I'll go next. First of all, thank you so much for being here, and thanks to whomever called you for showing up and let you know about this meeting. Because that truly is important, and I think that's one thing that I love about the organizations that are really helping to fuel and organize this thing, is that power of connection and that power of the network. It's there and it's real, and we need to continue to fuel that fire. I would also say to anybody and everybody, come to a school board meeting. Pay attention to what's happening, what's on the agenda, sign up for public testimony, just really get involved with what is happening. Some may not find them to be really super scintillating. I think there's some work that we could do as a board to make them more exciting, perhaps. But it really is a way to kind of get your finger on the pulse. As a board, I also believe that we need to do more listening sessions. We did these last year with the budget, and as we were looking at facing some, a pretty significant budget cliff, and getting out and holding community sessions in schools and connecting with families. And I know I learned so much just by showing up to those and meeting with folks and really listening. And we need to do more of that.
All right, yeah. I mean, echoing what Karina and Lisa have said, but also that is where, meeting people where they're at also comes into the perspective. Because yeah, we can schedule a lot of these meetings and all of that, but also there is people who fall through the cracks. I know, as I mentioned, my parents, they didn't know what a school board was. They were busy. My mom was busy taking care of me, but I was busy working, so they didn't know what a school board meeting was. But because one day a school board member showed up to one of our parent meetings, that is how they started knowing what a school board. That is actually how I started knowing what a school board did and all of that. So showing up to those events, I would say, I think that's been kind of the theme of all of this, showing up. Because yeah, that is very powerful. Obviously, we can do all these community events, but if the public knows that your school board member is showing up, that can also drive turnout and all of those things. Also, I think second thing is utilizing the tools that we have, as you mentioned. Text messaging. I know some schools with their, newsletter, also they do a good job at that. But also using our own social media. I know we all have campaign accounts, but hopefully when we're all on the board, using that as a community account. So these are the events we will be a part of, even if we're not going to be a part of. Highlighting those events so that people show up, I think is a big thing. So.
One more question, you said?
Yeah. So what everybody else said, but I don't see my activity as a candidate really going that far down when I'm elected to the school board. I'm committed to our community. I love being out in it. I love talking to people and to different groups and connecting. And like Angelo said, my social media will continue. I will be letting people know about what's going on, what the school board's doing, what the events are around it, and I will also be available out in the community at school events, at community events, and I will always be on. I'm always a school board member if I'm elected. So, I got a recognizable face. Come talk to me when you see me. I love being out and talking to people. I don't know how to say it better than that.
Okay. We'll have one last question asked. Can we get Sandra to ask it, please?
So for this last question, it's related to the question that the gentleman just asked right now. I'll give some background so that everybody can understand where this question comes from. So I started attending school board meetings a few years ago now. It's been a couple of years, probably 5 or 6 years, so even more. And I have noticed that school board meetings have become more and more inaccessible to the community. Before, we used to be able to sign up the day of, and so any community member that showed up was able to sign up there and give their public comment. Now you have to sign up ahead of time, and it closes the day before, I think at 3 p.m., and it closes before working class parents get out of work. So it closes when they're still at work. And now you have to go online, so you have to be able to navigate the internet to even sign up. So even though there have been discussions that has made it more safe for the community, essentially it has made it very inaccessible for all community members, regardless of where they come from. So I want to know, if you get elected as a school board member, what will you do specifically to ensure that school board meetings become more accessible to community members that want to give public comment and express any needs or asks that they have of you as school board members? If you can give us 3 specific things that you would do as a school board member, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Like I said, this is popcorn style. Whoever wants to answer first, feel free to answer.
the first thing that I will do is have conversations with the district and the communications team and some of the policies and ask questions about why those were made like that. And then asking to explore different ways to do that in terms of having the ability to sign in line, still be considered, because part of what I understand the purpose is to drawing them at random so that we can kind of spread the love, if you will, in terms of the numbers. When we have a greater number, then we have time to accommodate. So I want to understand some of the mechanics better. I also think that we need to do a much better job. The second thing would be helping to publicize community board members or board meetings in a wider way. I think families don't often look at the district website, don't always know. So there's, I think, a role that as a board member I can play, saying, putting it out on my network, saying, hey, there's a school board meeting tonight. The third thing will be really working to make sure, I do think that we need to make our room a little bit more friendly, to be honest with you. I think it's a little intimidating, the structure for that, and I think we can do a better job.
Thank you.
Hello? Oh, there it is. All right, I'm glad I can entertain you with my shenanigans. I think that the three things that I would do is look at and ask, why were they put here? Have they always been put here? And what reasons? Are those reasons still a concern? And I would do a better job communicating and publicizing and asking the school to publicize the school district's website.
You want to go last?
Yeah, I'll
okay. Okay, there we go. Yeah, no, as I mentioned, if it were up to me, a lot of the meetings that I've been a part of, a lot of the committees that I've been a part of has been, you can do public comment, you can just show up and do public comment. And that is really what I've liked, because it's what I'm used to, and it really opens up our meetings to everybody that wants to talk. But obviously, I can't make those false promises because I don't know why the district has, that limit on signing up for public comment. And so I would want to have those, discussions. If we can't go to, signing up in person when the meeting time is, looking into changing the time where the sign up closes. I know 3 p.m., that seems really early to me. So, maybe changing it to, 10 p.m. on the day before, changing it, in the morning on the day of. So it still gives us time to do the randomized, method to make sure everybody has an opportunity to speak. And also, as mentioned, publicizing even more. Again, using our social media as tools. I know the district, I don't think the district currently publishes their meetings on social media, like, hey, this is happening. If they are, I'm glad they are, but if they're not, we should continue doing, we should start doing that. But yeah, asking those questions, I would say, because my personal preference would be that you can sign up the day of the meeting, because that is just what I'm used to and I've seen, be effective.
Thank you. Thanks for the question, Sandra. And I know that I've received questions from youth. And I wanted to take the question kind of last because I have been around on the board for 4 years and I've seen a couple iterations of this. Right when I came, it was in the midst of COVID. And I know that COVID kind of forced us to also rethink how we were taking signups and public comment, and then it forced everything online, right? And then that transition to a hybrid model while also switching our public comment. And then there was there was folks, we had really packed rooms. We had more people who wanted to talk than we could make time for. And then there was some incidents in the boardroom that were unsafe. And so all of those pieces have kind of been taken into account into how public comment is done. I agree that we need to make it more accessible, right? And I will be following up as well and brainstorming around options to do so. It's just wanting to share a little bit of the background and the context there. And we have people who still show up, who provide public comment in both video, via Zoom or phone, and people who show up in person. One thing that we have done is sometimes when we see that there's more public comment, or maybe there's like 2 or 3 more people, and if we've allotted 30 minutes and there's 2 or 3 more people, let's just include those people, and there's no reason to cut them off. So there has been, I think, kind of being on the inside of ways in times that we've looked at how many people are interested or what topic is on the agenda, and trying to be accommodating to making sure that we allocate enough time for folks who are coming in, because again, we want to hear what folks have to say. So that is one thing, right? Making sure that we're kind of going back to the drawing board and looking at what we're doing, reading our policies again, and shifting. And I'm going to keep it at 2, because I think the other one for me is actually to really take ideas and suggestions from folks out in public, including from those of you who are here. What ideas and suggestions do you have for us to make the school board sessions more accessible? I know we've worked really hard. We've had, in terms of our interpretation services, and making sure that we have quality interpretation services for Spanish and ASL, and those have been incorporated. Again, I think there's always room for improvement, but I am welcoming and inviting that feedback around how to make our school board meetings more accessible, because it's one thing to be on the dais, but it's another thing to know when it's happening, to know where it is, to feel welcome, and to feel like it is a space where you belong and where you are welcome.
May I say? Okay. One of the things that hasn't been said is that one of the reasons those meetings were made less accessible and limited were because board members at the time didn't appreciate what was being said in those meetings. And they didn't want to hear the comments. They felt they were being treated meanly. And I can say that if I'm on the board, that if those conversations came up and those changes were attempted to be made, I would not support that in one way, or in any way, sorry.
I think it's just mine. Is it up? You have it up? You want to pass me that one? All right, this will wrap up our 2025 candidate forum. We appreciate you all showing up. I first want to give thank yous to the sponsors of the People's Candidate Forum. I want to remind you all this is our 3rd school board annual forum that we've had. So thank you to the co-sponsors. Also CCTV for providing other alternatives for folks who weren't able to show up today. This will also be posted in a few days where folks are able to review this and also share on social media, or maybe for folks who weren't able to show up today to learn about the candidates who are here today. Also, Radio Poder will also be live streaming this in a couple of days and airing it on 98.3 FM La Voz del Pueblo. That's another form of way. I also want to give a huge round of applause to the ASL and Spanish interpreters that were here today, so we can give them a round of applause. Also to the IT team and also the sociology class that also supported us in making sure this event ran smoothly. Can we give them a round of applause also? Also to the young people who are here today who created these questions, and also made sure that the young people's voices were also heard, and had the courage today to stand up and ask a question in something that wasn't in their comfort zone also. Give them a round of applause. One really big thing also is remembering to make sure you all are registering by April 29th. It's the last day to be able to register for the school board races that are currently happening.
One round of applause for the 4 candidates that did show up to share their vision of how they would want to represent us on our board also. And then one very last thing to do also is making sure when we leave that we leave this room clean as the way we came in, and to make it an easier job for those who come in and clean up for us. Thank you all for showing up.